What's going on, everybody? Let's start off this year pretty good with the first ever 2021 episode of 2000 of Friday Night Smackdown. We were still up on the Thunderdome, but we have different storylines, I guess. With the immediate standpoint being the current reign of Big E Langston, the continued feud for Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, and just the dwindling interest of the women's division, in my opinion. Yes, SmackDown was okay, but the only positives that leech it over to decent reviews is because Roman Reigns is in there. That, the main eventer, should be the biggest positive of the show. They opened up bringing up a decent recap of a great steel cage match from last week on SmackDown before we ended off 2020. Going over with the opening of Roman Reigns' promo, of course, showing over his dominant title run, bringing over the relevance of the Universal Championship, SmackDown, and Jey Uso's main event timing on SmackDown. That doesn't even mean any much because he keeps wrestling the same three guys every freaking week. He either tags with Roman, either has a decent match with Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens, and that's practically it. Either he wins or loses. But at least there's going to be some continuity in the match, and I respect that. It ended off with Kevin Owens calling over Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns was saying he already made you famous. He already gave you 15 minutes of fame with your crappy career. With Kevin Owens failing to get much of anything until he challenged Jey Uso in a one-on-one match. Then later on he had to ask Adam Pearce that just always in the hallway. He doesn't have his own selective office. That's my thing. Why aren't you give it an office? You're an authority figure that has to be in the same setting. And this is GMs that travel weekly. You always have the GM just standing around. Adam Pearce barely makes a phone call. He barely talks to a referee, a wrestler, an official, anybody else unless it's dependent on that particular segment. It doesn't make him feel like a busy businessman. It's just him gathering favors off Kevin Owens. And he barely has interactions like this for the rest of the show. So the main event was Kevin Owens versus Jey Uso. What else was to cover the night? We had a one-on-one match with King Corbin versus the new Intercontinental Champion Big E after winning a lumberjack match the last week. It ended off a DQ after Sami Zayn visited over commentary. As soon as he was hitting over the big ending, he attacked Big E, causing the disqualification. Apollo came to save the day out of a 4-on-1 situation and made an impromptu tag team match. After that, there was constant argument over trying to save over the pin. We had over the deep six, counter over some clothesline, many belly-to-belly suplexes. Apollo had his forgettable moveset that's like an indie guy. Apollo's like that guy that knows he can do the ability, but should stick to the position that he's buff. Do a bit of big man moves. Come on. Doesn't make you more ill-impressive than Bobby Lashley. By the way, I'm about to give you reasons why Kofi Kingston's reign as WWE Champion sucks. If you guys been there of the channel for a long time, you know I've consistently bashed Kofi Kingston. And I respect his longevity in the company, but he just sucked as a WWE champion, and I'm going to show you why probably in a couple hours. It's dependent on my energy if I'm going to even try to do the video anyway. At any time, I will go through with it, just dependent on the timing. I think that's going to be the thing. So, it ended up with a big ending. It ended up with a powerbomb. Big E and freaking Apollo wins. Then we had a pursuing coverage by Kayla Braxton asking about the current partnership and the benefit of Apollo. Apollo came around after Big E he's like, don't touch the title. That was like, oh my god, that was so funny. It's like, don't touch the title, bitch. It's my title. My Intercontinental Championship. that he should treat the belt like he's the only one that can touch it. I don't know why more wrestlers don't do that. He ended up issuing over an open challenge that Apollo immediately accepts. I mean, he could have just been like... And I don't know why more wrestlers don't do this more often. What happened to trying to pursue a championship? I thought that's nearly every other singles competitor's goal. And Apollo could have just came up front like, oh, no problem. But seriously though, I saved you back there. You owe me a title shot, at least. Not a drink. Not a ride. You owe me a title shot. That could have been easily set and done. That makes him a marked man. I don't know why that's not pursued upon. Oh yeah, because Apollo can't talk. He just said awkwardly, challenge accepted. They awkwardly laughed like they psyched it out, but then it was scheduled. Intercontinental Championship match next week on Smackdown. Apollo versus Big E. So awkwardly acted. It just felt so awkward. It's just weird, bro. Apollo can't act, and Big E just makes stuff look really awkward when he has nobody to foil around with the New Day. And it's just that badass factor. It's cool that they bring back his old entrance. He gets his theme song. He has his own signature little silhouette pose, like just him doing some kind of whining. It's just so weird. It's just not masculine. Like, sure, Big E was generic, but you know, he was a powerlifter. Dude was a badass. He was cool muscle. He had giant titties, but he can take you down with a finisher. That's just him, like, holding, like, a large plank and tossing you down. It was like a torso RKO. But at least he was big enough to make that look like it's gonna hurt. Other than that, we had the Riott Squad against Tamina and Natalya, managed by Billie Kay because of her resume gimmick. And I was like, well, this could have been just it. Just make her a manager or something. Like, you don't want to build upon factions. You don't want to build upon the women that are not always going to be pushed over to the top. Get rid of this Riott Squad fiasco. It's just not benefiting over Ruby or Liv, or at least give them the belts already. It just feels like they're at least somewhat talented, attractive, and at least have a semblance of a personality, even though they issue not to show it ever. But at least they're the most interesting looking. I hate Bayley. I just purely hate her. Not in like the heel hate. Stop thinking it's because of the heel hate. Or I'm jealous about her. Like, she literally sucks. Maybe for most of the wrestling community. What's the likability factor other than she's from NXT? Gosh, the match ends with a big roll up after a super kick over Liv Morgan. There was some chain wrestling until there were consistent distractions over by Billie Kay's hollering from the corner. So it came up over a roll-up by Ruby Riott over Tamina. So it's just a consistent jobber, just to give Billie Kay some comedic semblance, I think. Just to job over these two women that should have quitted like 5 years ago. They're not given any particular storylines. Natalya's always going to be the one looking somewhat weak over most of this and inconsistently booked over as the grizzled female veteran that doesn't get respected, but always just overdone by the younger person. She doesn't have anything to build over that because she has no semblance of a character or any semblance of a charm. She's like that 40-year-old woman that wants a pushover that she's in her early 30s. That's Natalya. And she's a talented wrestler. I'm not denouncing that. One of the best female technicians I've seen in quite a long time. And I've been watching her since, 2010? And now she's coming over. I don't watch Smackdown, so that's my excuse. Back in, the mid-2000s, I was all Raw. So, that's technically over my presumption of Natalya. Tamina's the same thing. A talented individual. Not a good look. She's just bland over in the ring. She can't even make that much of a compelling story in the match. And she has no semblance of a identity at all. And it's just chicks that we just need in the roster. But we all get rid of Zelina Vega. I feel so grateful to be a wrestling fan sometimes. I really do. So that is practically it. Ruby Riott has beaten Billie Kay or her associates 3 times and they haven't even been given anything. There was also a segment involving Sonya Deville returning on Smackdown, but I don't know what they're going to do with her. She just came back after a recent attempt of being kidnapped after a long-term, interesting storyline over most of the negatives that have been happening. The potential interest has been over the back-and-forth storyline involving her, Otis, Dolph Ziggler, and Mandy Rose on SmackDown. So I don't know how that's going to be presumptively focused upon, because the only person that's on SmackDown that's related over from that storyline is Dolph Ziggler tagging with Robert Roode now. So, don't know what's going to happen there. It's good to see at least a woman that at least carries herself as like a legit ass kicker to be on SmackDown, so I'll give it that. Next up we have Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, and Carmella and Bayley in a tag team match. And it was the same taunting, counter off arm drags. The Sommelier got involved, but then dodged Sasha Banks. Even did a freaking moonsault. Counter over Hurricane Rana. There was a reversal of a super kick. Bayley and Bianca Belair, she did some gorilla press moves, but awkwardly. The match just felt like there was no chemistry at all. The match just felt sloppily ordained to just continue the feud with Sasha and Carmella, even though there's not that much of a story involved, because Carmella's not that compelling, even though it's supposed to be like developmental squabbles again, because they can't actually make interesting storylines anymore with these women. I'm not saying like make them like they were in the Divas, but you can make interesting storylines involving the women's wrestlers. Like, you can even go back on freaking Impact, and they made Rosemary, Taya Valkyrie, Tessa Blanchard. They made these women look like $1 million. Look at what they're doing with Deonna Purrazzo. The chick was a freaking jobber on NXT on the main roster. Now she what is she, a 2-time Knockouts champion over in just under a year. So that I'm saying, you can make women look like $1 million. Come on. And technically, the women are the only positive you can talk about on the Impact roster. There was also, so it ended with some kind of spin out. It was kind of a creative finishing move, some spin out little face buster type maneuver that Carmella picked up the victory over, a counter off a reversal from the super kick. Somalia yet again got involved, so that came up to a win for Carmella. It was like a basic tag team match. Stop with the tag team matches. Like, if you want, make a 3-way for a title opportunity. Do some grudge matches. Make some interesting storylines. Do something with the freaking Somalia. Make them talk. Let him be a servant and do some comedic matches with some of the females out there. Like, he's doing this to please Miss Carmella or something. Like, make him a freaking simp. Make him a simp. The guy has dreads. He wears no socks whenever he wears the dress shoes. I know that's the fashion, but that's just dumb to me. That just looks stupid. Makes you look a bit, fruity whenever you do that type of stuff. And he comes around shorter than most of the women on the roster. Make him like a beta that has a small crush on Carmella. People like a guy that aims for hot chicks in a story. That's going to push the female demographic. It's going to push over more viewers to view, especially itching a romance with the guy trying to get the girl that he obviously can't get. That's going to get people to watch. So, I'm just saying. Next up, we also had Daniel Bryan tagging with Otis against Cesaro and Nakamura. And this was all over mocking him working out because Daniel Bryan's competing for the Royal Rumble. I mean, I would say about time. It would be about damn time, but he should be like an odd-on favorite. He shouldn't be just, oh my god, I'm gonna be at the Royal Rumble. Okay, who else? SmackDown has like a total of like at least 20 guys on the roster. There's no memorial favorite except you, Keith, I guess, Jeff Hardy that never won one, or Braun, and God know they're gonna screw up a Braun again. But it was over mocking like Daniel Bryan sexually assaulting Otis over for workouts. Otis awkwardly gyrating like freaking weird. The match was fine, I guess. If you like monotonous comedic Boral spots, there was a cool uppercut from the outside, a Kinshasa attempt, and then it ends off the yes lock after Otis was doing his little corner splash. The match was alright. That's all I can say. It was monotony, boring. They have no character other than the life coach thing for Gable that I guess is okay, but Gable just makes it so unappealingly dumb with the whole, they do the Macarena BS at the end. It's just goddamn terrible. There was also Kevin Owens pleading over what Adam Pearce was like, I need you to give me this match. Who else? Help me with this damn business. And if I don't harass you again to get a main event spot against my opponent's little cousin, then we're not real friends in the first place. Like, come on, shut up. Roman's like, just tell him that he just doesn't understand. The tribal chief, don't laugh. That's how I feel like it is. Like, it's so funny to say tribal chief. I don't know what they can do for like a black wrestler leader name that I please. That better be Booker T. That would be really funny. If you guys don't remember, Booker T also had a fake African accent. People have been ragging over Kofi's Jamaican accent, but at least that's a gimmick. That was an officiated gimmick they had in the start of his career. Booker just put this upon himself, even though people know how Booker talks. I don't know what the hell he did that for, but it was hilarious. So we had a match with Kevin Owens against Jey Uso 1-on-1. Didn't know if this was for a future title shot. I understand he got screwed over in the steel cage match. Go back and watch that episode of SmackDown if you guys want to see one of the best steel cage matches of the year. One of the better matches to end off the year. So, hey, I actually give a suggestion to watch SmackDown. So, there you got a positive right there. We also have the pretty decent selling match. Jey Uso, we had actual, legitimate selling. Actual focus on the leg. Over a quick super kick, trying to recuperate. Counters over the splashes. An attempt over to the for stunner gets reversed. Still trying to sell over to the leg. The leg cost him when he tried to go a bit too extra over the top and over the top of the steps, and he gets super kicked for his troubles. He gets a stunner again after the Uso splash couldn't help him. He tried to land on all fours. It was just an averagely sold match. They didn't overdo it to make it over 25 minutes long. Told an average story over last week because, of course, Jey Uso still selling his ankle injury after he wrestled against Daniel Bryan the week prior. So they actually focused on Jey Uso's issue, and it was pretty good. But it's long-standing matches. Still making Jey look like a mindful threat, trying to get to Roman Reigns. But they should have just stop Kevin Owens and let Daniel Bryan feud with him for the pay-per-view, because obviously Roman Reigns is not going to get an Elimination Chamber. I also forgot to go over the stupid Street Profits prediction segment that they have also in the show. That they have this dumb prediction over who's going to win the Rumble, over most of the stars, because they won 2 Slammies. Then, oh wait, Robert Roode has to tag with another guy who does a super kick? Oh, how unique. So, it ends with Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler attacking from behind. They come over with steel chairs, just like Roman Reigns and Jey Uso did, and batter the two up before they get interviewed, saying that they're getting overlooked. They're messing with the real tag teams, and they call themselves, I guess, the Dirty Dogs now. Interesting tag team name. I'll say that to the least. At least they're trying to make a legitimate tag team. Give Ziggler something to do other than trying to make him have a crappy singles run where he's probably gonna whine about his suckish life, how you banged Amy Schumer. I can understand why I would be depressed about that. I'll be complaining too. I'll be contemplating any semblance of what makes me wake up in the morning if I knew I slept with freaking Amy Schumer. So, yeah, that's practically it. I don't mind this because, of course, if you guys don't watch TNA, that probably not a lot of you guys did back in the day. Robert Roode was part of I think 2 successful tag teams. Well, Austin Aries and, of course, Beer Money with James Storm. So, there's your history. Ziggler also would need a bit of a change in division, even though they already lost to these guys twice, and them wrestling again. They would just switch over the titles for like probably a 3-month forgettable reign until they have to listen to the Street Profits again. So after the main event, Kevin Owens came with handcuffs, beating the piss out of Jey Uso with steel steps, super kicking him until Roman Reigns came over to surprise, kept battering him against the Thunder Zone audience, and then after battering him with steel steps, tossed him outside of one of the upper floors of the Thunderdome on a table. We end the show there. Roman Reigns looks like $1 million. I'm already just through with the feud. It's already undercompelling enough and unconvincing over with Kevin Owens overdoing getting over the odds and fighting against Roman Reigns again. Because we know he's not going to win. It's not that immersive because Kevin Owens doesn't even do that much of outlandish because he just feels so generic over as a babyface even though he's such a good talker. And it's just a bit bland, I'll say that to the least. Other than that, I thought this was an average show in my opinion. Average. I'm just going to give it a 5. There was not that bad wrestling. There wasn't that bad at segments. It just felt like it wasn't doing much to push over the envelope. And it has something to do with the lack of a roster. It's great to see at least that they're doing something for the Forgotten Sons, even though Jackson Riker's on Raw. He should be making a name for himself on SmackDown. Lack of that much of intensive storylines. What happened with Mysterio and Dominic, I don't know why they brought that up over. If there's any news updating over that, I would like to hear it later on in the video. Other than that, I thought this was an average episode. If you guys thought either way, if you think it was good or bad, please comment down in the comment section below. That's it coming from the DST show. Thanks for watching.